Today's horror story is written by SirFlatFooted. Tuesday. I can't get out of my apartment. Or at least, that is the feeling I got this morning as I was preparing to step outside. I put my hand on the handle of my door and just got this deep, guttural feeling telling me not to open it. Now, I would not consider myself a social butterfly, but I am not a particularly anxious person either. So, such a fear came as a surprise to me. I tried to figure out exactly why my brain was so opposed to the thought of stepping outside, but I couldn't think of anything. As a matter of fact, I could not remember much from the past few days. Everything had been as usual, or at least I think so. Quite frankly, I thought the whole thing ridiculous. I tried to open my door multiple times, but would hear the same line in my head every time. Don't. After a while, I just gave up. I was on vacation anyway. That much I could remember. There was no imperative need for me to leave my apartment anyway. I spent the rest of the day doing nothing of interest at all. I talked to a few people online, but did not feel like bringing my ordeal up out of fear they'd call me crazy. Later, as boredom grew, I brewed some coffee and looked outside my window. Everything was as usual. I melancholily let myself be lulled by the ordinariness of life. A blonde-haired girl stopped to talk to an old man walking his dog, and the middle-aged woman in the window across my own was hanging her laundry as a few people silently passed by. Policemen were coming in and out of the small police station across my street. I would be lying if I truly knew any of these people, but I vaguely remembered their faces. I moved into this small village a couple months ago. I had found work in the city nearby, but I had chosen to live in the neighboring village instead. Life was more peaceful here, not to mention cheaper. During those few months, I did not particularly feel the need, nor the will, to get to know the locals. I still talked to a few of them, of course, even befriended a man around my age, Adrian. But my social interactions in the village were few and far between. As the day turned into night, I watched a few more videos and prepared myself for sleep. Before that, though, I started this very journal. As I said earlier, it would seem that my short-term memory is not at its best right now, so I might as well document my days. I'm pretty sure I'm way too young to get Alzheimer's disease, but it could be something else, and keeping track of my actions could be useful later down the line. Wednesday. Something is off. I woke up this morning having seemingly forgotten most of yesterday, especially my aversion to leaving my apartment. I got dressed and tried to step outside, but was taken aback by an intense sense of dread. I then decided to leave later, stepping towards my computer, and saw what I wrote yesterday. At first, I thought it was a prank, as I did not remember writing any of this down, but there were too many coincidences for that to be the case. For instance, it would seem like the fear of leaving my apartment plagued me yesterday as well, and that I was already complaining about my short-term memory being wonky. Still, once the initial shock had passed, I quickly calmed down. Today seemed to be just another day. That is when I looked outside my window, where a view of a perfectly normal day in a small village awaited me. After a while, a young blonde-haired girl talked to an old man who was walking his dog. The old woman living in the building across my own hung her laundry. As this happened, I remembered what I wrote yesterday, and suddenly all of this felt too familiar. I kept looking outside. After around 2 hours, it happened again. A young girl talked to an old man walking his dog for 3 minutes and 45 seconds. The old woman hung her blue bedsheet first, then her yellow dress, and then her red skirt. I came back 2 hours later, and all of it happened yet again, exactly as I just described. When I say the girl and the old man were talking, I'm being generous. Upon further inspection, whatever they did not seem like a discussion. Sometimes they both stare at each other without saying anything. Other times they talked over each other for over 10 seconds. This was like a bad quality puppet show. Obviously freaked out, I tried to message some of my friends. I started with Adrian, seeing as he lived in this village as well. Hey. I waited nervously for a few minutes, staring at my computer screen. No response. How are you? Still, nothing. Adrian usually spent his days glued to his computer, so his lack of response only added to my ever-increasing anxiety. I contacted some of my other friends, those that do not live in the village. Their reactions were varied. Some firmly believed I was pranking them. Others told me I was most likely being delirious and shouldn't worry. I am not a delirious person. I've never had a mental problem in my life. And finally, some expressed concern and asked me if I needed help. It was tempting, but I did not feel secure asking them to walk out there by myself. I mean, I was scared of leaving my apartment myself. What kind of friend would I be if I put them in a situation I was scared of confronting myself? I called the police. Not the station located in my village, of course, as they were probably just as affected by whatever was happening out there as the rest of them. The one in the nearby city. Despite my best efforts to convince them I was being serious, they insisted I stop prank calling them, explaining that if I really had a problem, I should contact my local police station. I tried to explain to them that the local police were just as compromised as the rest of the village, all the while realizing how ridiculous I must have sounded from the outside. At that point, they only reiterated their demand for me to stop wasting their time, and hung up. I put post-its everywhere, especially on my door, which was now covered in "Do not leave" paper messages. More info on computer is also plastered everywhere. On the one next to my window, I also detailed all of my observations from today, just in case future me felt like being a skeptic. I just can't trust my memory anymore. I think whatever has taken over the village outside has some kind of mental altering capability, at least when it comes to memories. The only thing I can truly remember is that intense fear of stepping outside. I must have seen some very traumatizing shit for an idea like that to stick in my head despite the rest of my memories vanishing. I have enough food stashed up for a couple of weeks if needed. My apartment also still has running water, electricity, and heating. All of those come from outside the village, but someone here could potentially cut me off from all of it if they wanted to. And honestly, I wonder why they haven't done so. Are they not aware I'm still uncompromised? But then, why that puppet show outside my window? Or maybe they just don't know how to do these things. Anyway, it's 3 a.m. and I'm beat. It would seem like I'm safe as long as I stay in here. I just hope my future self will heed my warnings. Thursday. They know I am here. This morning I was jolted awake by a soft banging noise at my door. What I saw through the peephole would honestly be funny if my situation wasn't so dire. A man, apparently a line cook or chef of some kind, was trying to break my door open with a ladle. This kept going on for a while. The chef mechanically struck my door with his ladle again and again for what must have been over an hour. He had no expression on his face, no anger, no fear, just a puppet resigned to accomplish its duty. I was confused then, but I think I understand now. It observed us, trying to learn how humans behave so its puppets could mimic us better. Well, it must have skipped a few lessons because that is not how you break down a door. And what I had noted the other day is not how people have discussions. It will improve, though. And when it does, it will know how to enter my apartment and turn me into another one of its puppets. The memory erasing must make its job easier. I'm sure it does it on purpose. To ease its victims into a false sense of security. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just a side effect of its existence. A byproduct of the presence of something that should not exist. I sat down on my couch, desperately trying to figure out a way out of this mess. That is when I heard a beep coming from my computer. I had received a message from Adrian. "Hey, how are you?" I ran to my computer and immediately started typing away. This was the first time someone from the village had tried to contact me. "What the hell is going on in this place?" A full minute went by before I got a reply. "What do you mean?" Had he really not noticed anything? I found it hard to believe. "Have you gone outside your apartment at all the past few days? Do you remember anything?" Again, an uncomfortable amount of time passed until I finally received a message from him. "Yes, I have gone outside my apartment. Why, do you ask?" Why the hell did it take him so long to reply to that? And what was with all those randomly capitalized words in his messages? Doubt beset me. It was still early in the morning. At that time of the day, the sun would come through the screen of my window and land right on my screen. I had thought about moving my desk when I had first noticed this, but I never actually got around to it, arguing that I'm rarely at my computer at this time anyway. But really, I was just too lazy to ever move it. I used to kick myself for it, but now, I'm glad I never did move it. Because when I moved to the window to close the curtains, I saw her. The lady who hung her sheet at the window multiple times a day ever since she'd become a puppet. She was hiding at the edge of her room, discreetly watching me. I let out a scream and immediately shut my curtains. For how long had she, and by extension the entity, been observing my actions? And what exactly could it have seen? I tried to visualize the angle she would have through her window. I do not think she could have seen the entirety of my screen, but she surely would have been able to see parts of it. A new notification popped up. I had just received another message from Adrian. "Are you okay?" Smiley face. Again with the weird capital letter. What the hell was he playing at? And then I had a realization. To make sure, I scrolled up in our more recent chat history and there it was. The entity would not have been able to see my keyboard through my neighbor's window, but it would have been able to see my mouse. I must have copy and pasted something using it at some point, because that is exactly what Adrian was doing right now. Copy-pasting parts of old messages we'd sent to each other. I spent the rest of my day in a haze, wondering what exactly had taken over my village. My first thought was some kind of advanced alien civilization, but that made no sense. Surely a species capable of space travel would know how to break down a door. Maybe it really was alien, just not intelligent. A plant or animal that randomly landed here on a small space rock and just started taking humanity over. Or could this have originated from humans? An extremely advanced machine that has gone out of control, capable of altering minds, learning more and more on how to make its puppets act like real people. In the end, none of this matters right now. I need to find a way out of here. At the very least, I need to make people of authority outside the village aware of what is happening. I'm hoping they can save me. If not, it will hopefully help them prepare for what is to come. I've made up my mind. It is late now, but I will stay awake until tomorrow and call the police station located in the city nearby. They have not taken me seriously until now, but this time, I'll tell them I'm a threat. I'll tell them I have neutralized the tiny village police force and have taken hostages inside the police station across my window. They will come, and they will see the weird behavior of the locals firsthand. They will report it, and all should get better from there. I need to go. Calling them was a mistake. The entity noticed them coming and must have blocked the police station door somehow. They broke it open and all of the puppets were watching. They watched how to do it. They are changed now and they're coming for me. I need to make a run for it. I just want people to know what happened here. Thank you for listening. Usually one goes on vacation to get out of a rut. You can handle another story, right?